Almost everything that I've become really has been out of some serendipity. I became a journalist because in high school I just loved to read novels and loved to read newspapers and magazines. And so my last year in high school, I sent an opinion piece to the Daily Star, which was a major newspaper in my home state. Handwritten short opinion piece. And so one day my father called me and said, "Did you send a piece to the Daily Star?" And I was actually quite afraid because I thought that what had happened was that the newspaper might have called my father and said, "Warn your son not to send us very juvenile write-ups," you know. And growing up, both at school and at home, where corporal punishment was used. So if you disgraced your family, you would be caned. So I was considering lying, saying, "No, it wasn't me," or something. Then my father said, "Because somebody saw a newspaper today and it has a piece with your name." So at this point I came out and I said I was the writer. And so my father hugged me. So that was a very important transitional moment. There are always flakings of oneself when you write. At least that's true of me. I'm not sure if it's true of every writer. Whenever I write, there are aspects of my experience that are conscious or unconscious that find their way, permeate the narrative. Almost everywhere when I read my book when it came out, somebody will get up and propose that perhaps I was Ike. So, and so my next book, which is coming out in October, is actually my own immigrant experience in America. So I call it Never Look an American in the Eye, right? So you see, that's why I'm not looking you in the eye. But so I'm telling my own story as it happened so that we can separate my story from that of my characters. But clearly, my experiences, either lived experiences or the experiences that I was aware of from other people, got into Ike's narrative. I'm aware of myself as existing in very important moments of history in Nigeria. I was born in 1960. That same year Nigeria became independent. I was a child of the Nigerian Civil War, which began when I was 7 and ended when I was 10. And so some of my most poignant memories are rooted in that war, see. In terms of intellectual development, my high school year coincided with when Nigeria made a turn towards indigeneity in its curriculum, or curricula. Before, we were reading European history, European literature. In my set, they went to African history and African literature. So all of those developments became important. And then personally, my father went to World War II in Burma. And so growing up poor, I had friends who spent their, whose parents had means, and they spent their holidays in London. And they would come back and tell us stories. And one of the stories that I remember was a friend saying to me that in London, you can't see any trees, any plant, any grass. It's all concrete. And that for us was beautiful because we thought the European narrative was that we were bush people, we were savages. So when you lived in a village that had trees, you were ashamed of the trees, you were ashamed of nature. You wanted to live in civilization, and that meant concrete everywhere. So I envied my friend who had gone to this concrete, run, overwhelmed landscape. And so the English were something of ghosts, as it were. So the subtitle of my book is Colonial Ghosts, Flying Turtles, and the Making of a Nigerian American, you know. So the English had this ghost-like appearance to us, to me particularly. So my life has been a steady progress toward meeting and familiarizing, making familiar that ghost, and making myself, who must have seemed ghost-like to the colonial, this colonial presence, making myself also, I hope, more human rather than ghost-like.